Hi everyone, it's Paul here again. Yeah, it is the time again. Cheltenham Festival is now 9 days away. I've had a lot of cool comments and messages directed to me saying how much they like the videos from the last few years, which is great. Glad to hear we got some use out of it. Asking if we're going to be doing the videos again this year. Yes, I am. I'm going to be doing the usual one for each day of the festival, which is commonplace now, really, that I've been doing. I think it's about 5 or 6 years. But what I'm doing today is just more, as I said, getting my head ready around the festival, because for this year, and I don't know if anyone else has found it, comment and if you agree, I think it's going to be quite a tough festival this year, because a lot of fancied horses, I think, the ones who thought were going to go on to big things this year, haven't necessarily done that yet, whilst there's some newcomers where you're suddenly thinking, wow, I didn't see that happening. I see a Degruschi coming back to some degree of form, I suppose you say, in Sprinter Saccharin, no one really saw it. While Undersu last year looked bomb-proof, but then he's fallen already this year, and he fell as a novice as well, so suddenly that era of invincibility's gone. Obviously the champion hurdle is all changed. Fahim the Machine is out, and then obviously the second favourite, I think I forgot who it was another Mullins horse. He was then out, and you're just thinking, God, what's left here? And then Annie Power's back, and then shifting around. So it's a bit, as I said, my head's a bit all over the place trying to sort this out. Usually at this stage, I've got a very good idea about what I want to do, but I must be honest, it's very, very up in the air. A lot of the handicaps have been very strange as well. I've been looking back through the results the last few days, so there's not even anything overly jumping out on the handicap situation here. The other thing I think we're going to get this year is the false Mullins market, and it's happened a lot. And one thing I would say is Willie Mullins is obviously top trainer without doubt. However, I've had a look, and since the start of January, he's had over 35 horses turned over at odds on. So you could argue, does it mean the yard is in particularly good form? I think they're actually not doing too bad, but I think what it's a case of there, and you will get it at the festival, is false market syndrome. And what you do get is an example. I'm going to use it from a horse a few weeks ago for Willie Mullins, which I actually laid on Betfair for the win and the place. It ended up falling in the end when it was beaten, called Avon 2, I think it was called. And it was something like 4-7. It was the most ridiculous price ever. It shouldn't have even been favourite, never mind odds on. And no, it was back in fourth when it fell about 3 out, but it never would have got anywhere near the leaders. So that's something we're going to have to take into consideration this year. But just as I said, amusing around a few races really. The Supreme Novice, I think, is exceptionally weak this year. Willie Mullins and Rich Ritchie they seem keen on Min, who's the favourite, and he's done nothing wrong, but without being massively bullish. The issue that I've got is there's nothing really else to back against it at this second. I'm going to go and look through and see if there's anything out there. So this is the quandary we're in. And for example, the Supreme Novice, is he short enough at around 7-4? Absolutely. That's a pretty short price, that. Bearing in mind, Duvon was better than Min, to be honest with you, as a hurdler. He was more highly regarded, and he was about the same price. But you just don't know what's going to come out the pack to get him. An interesting one, David Pipe's had to make a decision on Moonracer, the champion bumper winner, who's obviously been out all season with an injury. So he's going to make that decision soon. But tell you what, asking to win a Supreme Novice first time out over hurdles, that will be ridiculous if you can do that, to be honest with you. It either means it's a wonder horse or it was a really, really bad Supreme Novice. So that's an interesting one there. As said, the Queen, I'm just going to, it's not a big thing, I'm just going over the thing what's going through my head at the moment. The champion hurdle, Annie Power, this is the worry I've got with Annie Power is I think that's short enough too. She came back, obviously she's a brittle horse, without doubt. It's very, very similar in many ways to Quavega. But it's always been the Mears hurdle, which she would have won last year if she didn't fell. Obviously, if you follow my videos, we benefited on Glenn's Melody, so there's some upside to that, I suppose. But it's like it was the other year when she came like second in the world hurdle, I think it was, etc. and stuff like this, when it always seems to be a plan B, and then that's when it doesn't quite come off. Now, it was always Mears hurdle, all winter, bang, 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 bang. Then Fahim gets injured, and suddenly it's like, 2-mile champion hurdle, blah, 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 blah. So I'm not a big fan when people change the plans late on. For the Cheltenham Festival, I think you've got to have it in your head what your target is, you prepare for it and you stick to it. I don't think we've necessarily done it. The problem we've got again is there's no feasible alternatives. Identity Thief shown some decent form, but whether he's up to this level, I don't know. The new one has come back the last couple of runs. He clearly likes Cheltenham. He came 5th last year, but all the horses pretty much that finished ahead of him aren't there this year. So technically the new one's a massive price. One who I'm really interested in, I'm going to look a bit more into it when I'm looking at the full next few weeks. Camping Ground was brilliant on New Year's Day. I actually backed him over 2.5 mile. He raced prominent, he travelled well, he stayed up the hill well, perfect. And I thought, yeah, he could stay. Good turn of foot. Looks like he's got stamina too. He then came out on trials day and got battered over 3 miles, and he said he was fine to 2.5 and just clearly didn't stay. But having that cruising speed and that stamina over a shorter distance, he interests me. I've got to be honest, it's a huge price, Camping Ground, and the only thing is obviously the ground's going to be a lot quicker, but we'll wait and see there. As what else have we got? What I'm looking through now, yeah, the cross country chase is an interesting one. First cross country run of the season. Any Currency and Josie's order. I'm just looking at my notes here. Filled out 1 and 2. The finishing distance was a length and a half, but Any Currency on that day was giving him 1 stone and £7. Now next time out, okay, Any Currency practically got pulled up. Josie's order won very, very well, so it could be a horse improving. I actually been tweeting Martin Keithley, the trainer of Any Currency, and he said he was off when he got home. It wasn't his true running, and any horse can have a bad day. So I'm not saying Any Currency's going to win. Bearing in mind I think he's 13 nearly now, or 12 at least. But Josie's order, everyone's like, oh, it's an absolute banker. I wouldn't go that far, because I said Currency's second in this race twice and can turn up well fresh, which he's going to be. Balthazar King is back, and if he's got any modicum of form, then he's going to be a big player. Rivage d'Or won last year, is a spring horse, he could do well, so very tricky race as well. The Champion Chase is interesting. Umdasu should win. It's a penalty kick, but the more I think about this horse, it's more and more becoming like a Moscow Flyer type horse. With Moscow Flyer, he could easily as fall as win, and he got to that stage, and I think Umdasu's almost getting to that stage now. He's already fallen once this season. He fell last season, and when he doesn't, he does it really well, like he did it really well at Ascot, but he's plenty short enough. But once again, what's to oppose him? Sprinter Sacra's done everything he asked of him, but he's clearly not going to be the horse he was. But saying that, the horse he was a hell of a lot better, I think, than even Umdasu is, and Umdasu's a good horse, to be honest with you. Sia de Grugy's a former champion, shown decent form this season, but again, without being spectacular, there's nothing jumping out where you're going, yeah, back me, back me. Another worry I have on Umdasu is a horse called Special Tiara, who also likes to go off at 110 miles an hour. Now, that could put huge pressure on Umdasu's jumping, and that's what I said, I'm going to be backing each way in that race, because I could see Umdasu comfortably winning, but I don't like the fact he might get taken on, and I don't like his fall record already. I think he's fallen in 2 out of his 5 or 6 starts, so he's not completed in a third, and I don't like taking odds on in a horse that hasn't completed in a third of his races, to be honest with you. Now, the Ryanair is always tricky, and to be honest, I haven't paid a great deal of attention to that then, because there's so many horses entered in the Gold Cup, all the etc. and stuff like that, and William Mullins again has all of the aces in this card. The one thing I really do hope in this, I hope they put Vator in the Ryanair Chase, because he jumped so well in the JLT last year. He's got bags of pace, he's a front runner, and he's got a degree of stamina. One thing I would say is he got caught and was legless late on in the King George, and he was run down by Q Card, and that was over a flat 3 miles at Kempton. So the extended distance and the hill at Cheltenham, I'm not saying he won't settle better, because he didn't settle great at Kempton, and Ruby said I wish I made more of him, etc. But I just think something's got a bit more of a kick to it. So I think if he goes in the Ryanair, he's an absolute banker, without question. If he goes in that, you won't find a better one to go for. And just finally, a quick word on the big two, or the other big two, which is the World Hurdle and the Gold Cup. World Hurdle, Thistlecrack, I can't believe this time last year, nearly in April, he won at Aintree at like 20-1 in a handicap. He's now 5-4, rightfully so, for the World Hurdle. I've not seen a horse improve like Thistlecrack has, and nothing can even get him off the bridle at the moment. It's scary. Safir Daru is obviously, he's come runner-up in the World Hurdle, and he's going back there, good spring horse, but once again it does seem very much like a plan B. This, it was all chase, and then go back for a plan B. Saying that, he did that with a horse called Big Bucks, didn't he, who didn't take to fences, and he was probably the best staying hurdler we've ever seen. So, struggling to find much opposition to Thistlecrack. The one thing I would say is don't rule out Cole Harden. He's a dour stayer, he's a front runner, he's coming back to form, and he's got a decent chance if he can recapture anything that he's got. But as I'm looking into this at the moment in more detail. And finally, the Gold Cup, I'm not wavering from my support, which everyone will know I had last year, even when he got beat by the worst ride I think he's ever given a horse by Brian Cooper last year when Don Cossack was turned over at the festival. He then came out and romped home at Aintree, where I was actually there that day and had a big bet on him. It was really good. I've backed him, as people who follow the videos know, anti-post since last Cheltenham at all sorts of crazy prices. He started the season well. Yeah, he came off the bridle, but I think he would have at least come second in the King George given the manner in which he stays. And then last time out, when he was something like 1-8, people were like, oh, it wasn't convincing. But it was like, it's 2 mile 4. He came off the bridle, he stayed on, he then came clear on the bridle. The horse he beat, Wounded Warrior, came runner-up in the RSA last year, so it's a decent set of form. And it was over a trip too short, so I just don't see why people are giving him a load of stick. The worry you do have is he didn't run great in the Ryanair last year, and he didn't run great necessarily over hurdles, so is the course a problem? Last year I think it was just a terrible ride. If you want me to be honest, look it up on YouTube. I don't know what Brian Cooper was actually doing. He had a mad couple of days. He had the ride on him where he tried to like run up the backside of 2 horses, and then on the Friday on No More Heroes in, I think it was the Albert Bartlett, he was cruising and there was like no room and he's trying to like run up the road. I just don't know what the hell he was playing at, to be honest with you. So I'm not wavering from Don Cossack in the Gold Cup. It looks a really good Gold Cup. I'm seeing Jack Adams still, Willie Mullins is still high in the betting. That scares me because the fall he took on Trials Day was heavy. That was a big fall. That was really big, and he hasn't come out since. He had to have stitches in his stomach, and you might remember the video last year where Petit Zig had a fall at Ascot and then went for one of the novice chasers. I think it was a JLT, and I said, I can't have that after that injury. And it's a similar thing, I think, with Jack Adam. But the Gold Cup, it's full of quality this year. But once again, with Mullins having so many of the aces, you don't know who's going to go worse, so it's going to take a long time to chop and change up. The handicaps are always tough, but one horse to have a look out for is of Warren Greatrix called Alu Momo. I followed this all season. He's won every single start from 2 miles up to 2 mile 6. They then gave him the winter off. He came back over hurdles, which he was always going to be a better chase than hurdler. He only got beaten about 4 lengths over a short trip, and that would have put him spot on. And I think after that much time off, he could be a nice weight, for a decent handicap. He usually races prominently. He jumps for fun, which is massively important around Cheltenham, and he's someone who's really interested me at the moment. And finally, just a brief word on the RSA. I'm not saying I'm going to pick the horse necessarily because I'm still searching through it, but more of that, the former world hurdle winner beat last time out at Cheltenham convincingly. I think it was 12 lengths, a horse called Sametagal for Paul Nicholls. That horse came out yesterday and won easily off a high weight, a decent handicap yesterday, so that form's well and truly franked. He loves the course. Obviously he's a world hurdle winner, he's looked a natural over fences, he goes best fresh, which he is, so it's going to take a good one for me to not back more of that at this moment. But as I said, I'll be doing the daily videos starting closer to the festival once we start to see a bit more of the decks. Anyway, I hope this was of interest to you. If anyone wants to follow me on Twitter, my username is at the Yoz81. I think it is. Yeah, have a look for it anyway. Yeah, you'll see me on Twitter. My picture on it is a picture of Flagship Uberalis, my favourite ever horse. And I comment on a lot of things in life, but quite a bit on horse racing, etc. and stuff like that. So quite often I'll fire a tip on there if anyone's like, if I fancy something later on, I'll say, yeah, I'll go and have a look at this. So follow me on that if you want, and if you have any questions you want me to answer or put in me videos, etc., or anything before the festival, drop me a line and I'll reply to you as I do everyone. Okay guys, speak to you soon, take care, bye bye.